as you know, I built a lot of their kits. I would probably build one just to keep my my mind occupied. But that's a sweetheart little amp. I think it puts out maybe just a tad bit over.
Man, that old boy's been talking for about 20 minutes. He did take a break, though, for about 5 seconds. And he did ID. And he takes a break for about 5 seconds. And you know what? You know how the game is played, right, guys? He'll ask a question that requires a one-word response and an immediate response, and he unkeys ID. No, he IDs, unkeys his companion there, QSO companion. He answers a question with a simple yes or no, then the old part's off and running again for a half an hour. It's awesome, man. I'm not picking on him. I like it. It's a grin, right? The reason for this video is I keep forgetting to mention something about this Yaesu FTdx-3000, and I'm going to be doing a critique of it, of all the functions in terms of using it in two ways, as a CW op and as a POTA activator on the road, because this is a radio that goes with me. But that said, there are two failures on this rig, and one in hardware, one in software. I've mentioned the failure on the keying jack, the paddle jack on the rear panel. It has one on the front, as you can see, and one on the rear. Well, the one on the rear, the DIT line failed. And I've thought about troubleshooting it on the air with people, on video, if there's much interest. And a couple people said they'd like to see it. What else? It really doesn't matter that much to me. It does bug me a little, because if I don't want to use my external keyer, if I do just want to use the internal one, then I can't use that rear jack. The DIT line's dead. The front one works. So anyway, that's one failure in this rig. The other one is a software failure. Now, you'll see that right here, I have the meter set to compression, okay? And it's talking about the lower scale on the S meter. I never leave it to compression. Let me change it to ALC. And the problem, the software failure I've had, was every now and then, and it seems to be happening more frequently, I'll grab the mic to give a station a call, or I might be in a QSO. I press the key on the mic, and no longer do I have any ALC indication. I started with the obvious. I made sure the mic connector was screwed on tight, and then I started experimenting by doing different things with the radio to see if it would change anything. For example, changing antennas to make the antenna relay cycle, doing things like that, and activating the internal tuner. I changed bands and changed back again real quick. I changed modes. I went through the repertoire of screwing around. And you know what I found? The problem is in the somewhere in the software of this radio, possibly an intermittent analog to digital converter, if it's a hardware issue, but I doubt that. That's all probably handled internally by the CPU. And anyway, it could be a DSP function. Who knows, man? But I lose ALC indication. And I just found out that if I reach up and switch it to the bar graph display, it it restores my ALC function indication. The ALC indicator never fails when it's set to bar graph. But when set to analog meter, it's intermittent. You know? Those are the only two actual failures I've had with this rig, and I've owned it for a little over 2 years, I think. A couple years. And I just wanted to toss that out there. Okay, so the next video I post will be that of the VFO, and then another longer video of the other two Heathkit, the DX60 and the HR10B. And then after that, I'm going to do some unknown testing. I want to show temperature rise. I want to show graphs of the frequency response on each of the bands for each of those two unknowns, the double core FT14043 and the little successor to our old friend Little Schmo, the single core FT12543. So, I wanted to mention the FTdx-3000 issues in hardware and or software before I go on to the critique, which will be in a couple weeks. Take care. 73 guys.